The screen is not black, but a deep, velvety indigo. The sky still holds the last memory of daylight, a faint bruise on the horizon. The landscape is not silent, it is full. Crickets saw their legs in a relentless chorus. From the village of Nyos, a kilometer down the valley, the faint, warm glow of kerosene lamps bleeds into the sky, and the sound of children's laughter, tinny and distant, carries on the still air. It is a mirror, perfectly still, holding the first stars prisoner in its dark water. This is not the clear blue of a tropical postcard. This water is deep, saturated with minerals, a haunting shade of navy that suggests not purity, but depth beyond comprehension. The lake rests in the crater of a long-dormant volcano, its steep, green walls sloping down into this perfect, circular bowl. In the village, Elias Abui, 42, finishes mending a fishing net by lamplight. His hands, calloused and sure, pull the final knot tight. He blows out the lamp. The room is swallowed by a darkness that feels soft, familiar. He lies down beside his wife, Alma. Her breathing is already slow and even. He thinks of the yam harvest next week. The price of maize at the market in Wam. The sound of his youngest son's cough, which has been getting better. He closes his eyes. At the lake's edge, the water begins to stir. Not with waves, but from within. A massive, invisible force is agitating the depths. The mirror shatters. The water churns, bubbles erupting not as a frothy white, but as a thick, creamy beige, like a pot of soup coming to a violent boil. A faint, rotten egg smell, the scent of sulfur, hangs for a moment, then is gone. From the seething lake, a ghost rises. It is not a specter of light, but of density. A vast, invisible cloud of carbon dioxide, heavier than air, spills over the crater's lip. It does not billow upward, it pours downward, a silent, suffocating waterfall. It moves with a predator's patience, following the contours of the land, flowing into valleys, seeking low ground. It moves at nearly 50 kilometers per hour, a wall of nothingness. The cloud reaches the first huts. It slips under doors. It seeps through grass walls. It fills the space around a sleeping child's open mouth. It displaces the oxygen in the lungs of a grandmother dreaming of her wedding day. It does not smell. It does not sting. It simply is. A man, woken by a sudden dizziness, stumbles to his doorway. He sees a white mist, water vapor condensed by the cold gas, drifting knee-high through the village. He takes 2 steps, his brain screaming for air his lungs cannot process. He collapses on his threshold. His hand stretches out, fingers brushing the still warm earth of the path. Sunlight dapples through the broad leaves of plantain trees. The village of Nyos was not a place of despair, but of resilient life. About 1,200 people lived here, their world defined by the rhythm of the seasons and the presence of the lake. It was not a place they feared. It was their landmark, their source of fish, a vast, still bathtub set into the lush, green highlands of the northwest region. This was the world of the Abui family. Elias, the father, was a farmer and part-time fisherman. He had a laugh that started in his belly and shook his shoulders. He was a man who measured wealth in the health of his children and the fullness of his grain store. His wife, Alma, was the village's unofficial midwife, her hands known for their gentle strength. She carried the scent of crushed herbs and wood smoke. Their eldest, Kofi, 12, dreamed of being a truck driver. He would mimic the sound of grinding gears and hiss of air brakes, thrilling his younger siblings. He had never seen the ocean, but he imagined the road that could take him there. His sister, Adama, 8, was a fierce protector of the family's few chickens, and could weave the most intricate patterns into her hair. Baby Samuel, 2, had just learned to say, Nyos, pointing a chubby finger toward the water. Their future was a tangible thing. Elias had just secured a loan of 50,000 CFA francs to buy a better breed of goat. Alma was planning to expand her herb garden to sell remedies at the Wom market. Kofi's school fees for the next term were wrapped in a plastic bag, buried in a tin can beneath the floor of their hut. Their plans were not grand, but they were specific, and they were tomorrow's problem. Tonight was for rest. The air was cool. The lake was calm. The universe, for them, was contained within the sound of each other's breathing. The sun rises, indifferent. A low, white mist, natural morning fog, cloaks the valley. But the usual sounds of dawn are absent. No roosters crow. No goats bleat to be milked. The silence is so thick it has a physical weight. The cyclist freezes. His bicycle clatters to the ground. The scene before him is not one of violence, but of eerie, suspended animation. People are lying in the paths, in doorways, in their yards. A woman is collapsed beside her overturned basket of tomatoes, the red fruit scattered like beads. A man lies face down, his hand still clutching the rope of a silent cow. The cow, too, is dead, legs rigid. He finds two infants, alive, in a hut. They are crying weakly, dehydrated. Their mother is dead beside them. The investigator's mind would later race, why them? The answer was cruel and simple: carbon dioxide, heavier than air, had pooled like water. The babies, in low cribs or on mats, were submerged in the deadliest concentration. But these two had been in a raised crib, their heads just above the invisible tide. What was missing? Not possessions. Not lifeblood. The very air was missing. The atmosphere itself had been stolen and replaced with a suffocating blanket. The clue was in the bizarre, stratified pattern of death: low-lying areas, 100% mortality. A hut on a slight rise, partial survival. The silent livestock. The asphyxiated insects. This was a crime scene that encompassed an entire ecosystem, and the murder weapon was the invisible, scentless, breathable void left behind. Grim-faced Cameroonian soldiers in jeeps arriving, pulling surgical masks over their faces. International aid workers in Land Rovers, their eyes wide with disbelief. The initial theories were panic-driven, logical but wrong. Given the region's stability, some officials immediately suspected a covert chemical or biological attack from a neighboring country. Soldiers fanned out looking for canisters, for evidence of an aircraft. They found nothing. A police report from August 23 stated, no signs of ordnance or delivery systems. Victims show no blistering or neurological symptoms consistent with known warfare agents. The theory evaporated, but it wasted 48 critical hours. Teams took samples from every cooking pot, every water jar. They found nothing but maize porridge, stew, and clean water. The village's single spring tested pure. And poison didn't explain the dead animals in the fields, the birds from the sky, the insects on the ground. A WHO investigator was quoted muttering to his team, toxins are specific. They don't kill everything with lungs and leaves in a perfect topographic pattern. This is something else. The family's frustration. Survivors from higher villages, like Fon Janba Fumuki, who lost 32 family members in Nyos, gave interviews. Their grief was compounded by terrifying confusion. Was it a curse? Did we anger the lake spirit? One elder asked a health worker, who had no answer. The scientific vacuum was filled with dread and superstition. The government's initial silence, born of its own ignorance, felt like neglect. The investigation was failing because it was looking for a thing, a bullet, a poison, a germ. It wasn't yet looking for an absence. The first scientists to take water samples from the lake noticed something strange. The water was a strange, murky brown, not its usual deep blue. It fizzed when they pulled up the sample bottle, like a shaken soda. One geologist, Haraldur Sigurdsson, would later say the clue was in that fizz. He wondered aloud to his colleague, what if the lake itself burped? The three dark theories. Theory A, the likely path, the limnic eruption. Animation shows the deep, volcanic lake. Carbon dioxide, CO2, seeping from magma below, dissolves under immense pressure at the bottom, creating a vast, charged reservoir of carbonated water. The trigger could have been a landslide, a small earthquake, or simply the slow saturation reaching a tipping point. Like popping the cap off a shaken soda bottle, the lake undergoes a catastrophic overturn. The CO2 bursts from solution, exploding upward in a massive, invisible cloud. This is the established scientific consensus, a rare, natural disaster called a limnic eruption. It fits the facts, the pattern of death, the frothy lake, the lack of burn marks or conventional trauma. It is the how. But for survivors, it offers cold comfort. It turns their home, their lake, into a sleeping monster that could, without warning, exhale death again. Theory B, the shadow path, the negligent catalyst. This theory accepts the limnic eruption but asks, what triggered the trigger? In the early 1980s, there was prospecting in the region. Could a mining company, drilling for resources, have unknowingly fractured a deep, pressurized gas pocket beneath the lake? Or, darker, was there a small, clandestine underground nuclear test by a foreign power in the geologically active region, a shockwave that destabilized the lake's delicate balance? Proponents point to the suddenness and the sheer volume of gas. They whisper, natural, yes. But accidentally made to happen. Official records show no such activity, but in the shadowlands of conspiracy, the absence of evidence is itself a clue. It transforms the event from a tragic act of God to an act of corporate or governmental manslaughter, covered by the perfect, natural alibi. Theory C, the uncanny path, the atmospheric weapon test. This is the strangest theory that explains the strangest clues, the reported low-lying white mist, the instant, peaceful death, the selective survival. What if the cloud was not just CO2? What if it was a dense, experimental aerosolized compound, a neuroinhibitor or a rapid-acting sedative, designed to incapacitate a population without damaging infrastructure? A test that went too far, or was deliberately released. It would explain the almost surgical precision of the death zone, following topography perfectly. It explains why some felt dizzy or nauseated before collapsing, symptoms of exposure to certain nerve agents. The dead wildlife and insects. Collateral damage from a blanket atmospheric deployment. This theory posits that Lake Nyos was not the source, but the convenient cover story for a field test of a new, terrifying class of silent weapon. The burp was a staged geological explanation for a man-made atrocity. Present-day, aerial shot of Lake Nyos. The lake is blue again. A massive degassing pipe, like a giant straw, stands in its center, slowly, continuously releasing the built-up CO2 to prevent another catastrophe. The villages below are largely abandoned, fields reclaimed by forest. Stone memorials list the names of the dead. The haunting truth of Lake Nyos is not that we don't know what happened. Science has provided the mechanism. The haunting truth is the banality of the apocalypse. It wasn't fire or ice or war. It was the very air turning against life, silently, in the dark, while people dreamed of tomorrow's harvest. It is the ultimate violation of a fundamental trust, that the ground won't shake, the sky won't fall, and the air will always be there to breathe. So we are left with one unsettling question, not about geology, but about our own world. If an invisible, silent killer could spill from a peaceful lake in Cameroon in 1986, what other dormant, invisible threats are we sleeping beside right now, unaware? For Elias, Amma, Kofi, Adama, Samuel, and the 1,746 others who went to sleep and never woke up. Your stories are not forgotten.